Hello and welcome back. So, for this episode, I want to talk about something that I found to be quite a nuisance and quite an obstacle for me when it comes to actually consistently recording these episodes, and that is perfection. And even as I was doing this is like my second take for this episode, which I don't do, and it's kind of like the ugly head of perfection, wanting to be perfect, that keeps rearing its ugly head from time to time. But specifically, I want to talk about the different kinds of perfections that I've noticed, and I'm just going to categorize them the way I understand them. And probably if you guys can relate to them, you can actually begin to work on them. And so the one I'm going to talk about on this episode is what I call, probably the name will change later on, but for now, let's just stick to one name. And the title of this episode is going to be called, the perfection itself is called the Domino Perfection. And so the title of this episode is called Overcoming the Domino Perfection. Now, the reason why I'm calling it like the domino is because, first of all, there are two types. So there are two types of perfection. You know, like how you have type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. So you have like two types of the domino perfection. So the type 1 domino perfection and type 2 domino perfection, so to speak. And they're all related to dominoes, or the best way to understand them is like a domino. Now, if you've ever used dominoes before, there's this game whereby you just arrange the dominoes maybe in a straight line, or you can just carve them like a road, or you can just make them go round and round in the room. That way when you drop one, the rest kind of just fall into place, and then kind of makes that beautiful and satisfying motion whereby one domino hits the other one and the other one and the other one, and it becomes like a ripple effect, so to speak, whereby you have a wave of dominoes just falling down on a specific pattern. Now, the type 1 domino effect that I've found, especially in my case, is the one whereby you have to arrange the dominoes specifically in a position such that when the first one falls, the next one falls. And so the first one, or the type 1 domino perfection, is whereby you need to arrange the dominoes in such a way whereby the first one is closely linked to the next one, and they're kind of next to each other. That way when one falls, the next one will fall over. And that's the one that I found manifesting in me. And this one is in the sense of whereby, to give you a better idea, is one of the goals I had of these episodes, at least for this year, for the first year, was to come up with a book. And so later on, I was just going to combine all these episodes and write them into a book. And then from then on, I would just publish that book, and so it'd be part of my book. So each and every single one of these episodes over the next 365 days would be part chapters or pages of my book that I'm going to write. And so one of the biggest problems that I've been having, the challenges that have been a roadblock for me or become an obstacle for me, is that I've wanted so much, like, to make sure that each chapter that the book is sequential. So the body of knowledge that is in the book is sequential. That is, you come up with the first chapter, which kind of gives an introduction. The second, so you have the introduction, and then the first chapter, which kind of gives you, it's kind of like an overview, or you go much depth, or you go much deeper into the introduction, and so you have like the foundation. So if you're going to use, I think a better example would be a class example. So if you're in high school, if in primary school, you've got like the first thing that you learn are the ABCDs, and then from then on you start naming things, and then from then on you do a bit of math. You start with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and then you go into more complex subjects or subject matters. And so one of the things that has been holding me back throughout all this time, that is making it difficult for me to actually be consistent when it comes to actually doing these recordings, is that I've wanted so much to do, like, to start with the ABCDs, and then you can start with the 1, 2, 3s, and then from then on you can do words, and then from then on we can do naming objects and whatnot, and then you can add the articles like there and whatnot. And so this has become the issue for me, and so I've tried so much, and you'll notice in the previous episodes whereby the body of knowledge is kind of building on the previous one. And this is something that I've been struggling with for so long, that's become a major problem and a bottleneck for me when it comes to actually maintaining my consistency and, actually making progress when it comes to actually recording episodes. And so this is what I call the domino type 1 perfection problem. So you got like the domino perfection type 1, and this has to do with the arrangement, so to speak. And so whereby you just want the first domino to actually you put the first domino in place, and you want the second one to be right next to the first domino, and the third one to be right next to the second one. And so you're kind of building up the body of knowledge from, from the grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3 to grade 4, in such a manner. And that's been the biggest obstacle, because considering that you're talking about reading about 100 or 300 books over the next 1 to 2, 3 years, or 1 to 5 years, you probably find that organizing all that information to actually make sense and to be sequential is going to be very difficult, especially if you're doing it as you're reading them. Okay, so you probably have to read them first of all, and then just skim through everything, and then probably you can just do it. And it's kind of contrary to what I talked about on the first few episodes, and it's because I actually found it is not plus, but it's very good in theory, but in practicality it doesn't seem to work. And so I think that's one of the things we're going to scrap from the book later on. But for now, it does make sense, especially if you want to search out specific information. So it does make sense for, like, if you want to do a quick overview to be able to find out, or just to capture your curiosity or interest areas, whereby you can just record them. Oh, it's something I can learn about today, it's something I can learn about today, it's something I can learn about tomorrow. So you have a bit more order to it. However, the setting up process itself is going to take you some time to actually do it. But once you have it done, it's going to be much easier for you. So you can just find something that you want to read today, and then you just read it. And so here, it kind of helps you to develop in a way that you're able to kind of acquire knowledge instead of just waiting to acquire knowledge sequentially. Like you're reading a book, so you read a chapter here, a chapter there, a chapter here, a chapter there. And as you do that, what happens is you're still acquiring knowledge and you're still progressing, instead of just waiting to progress specifically. And so you'd be like taking this book and then finding the chapter that you want, and then take another book, and then you probably go like 10 books. Like, for instance, even before I recorded the first take on this episode, I did like 7 books looking for the next sequential topic, or the next idea, or the next concept that I was going to add on these episodes, following in the spirit of kind of having a sequential order to information. And that itself has become a bottleneck, because it's become overwhelming for me, because there's so many books that I can read, there's so many books that I can that I need to follow through to actually be able to learn these things. And so I decided against that move for now. And yeah, so instead of trying to arrange the dominoes perfectly on the first try, we're just going to pick the pieces of the domino. So we're just going to arrange the pieces of domino, just going to make them stand up, and then whether or not they actually, the first one knocks the second one over, or the first one knocks the fourth one over, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you're just going to organize everything together, and then you're going to make that into a book. And so I hope this helps. So that's the first type of perfection syndrome that I've seen. So there's called the type 1, the domino perfection, the type 1 domino. And the next episode, I'm going to talk about the type 2 domino. All right, then, thanks guys for listening. Be sure to leave a comment in the section below, and let me know if you're having such a problem with you, even as you're trying to progress. Bye.